Hello, Kaci.
Hi, Kalina.
How are you on this hump day?
I'm good. How about you?
I am wonderful. If you are listening on Apple Music or Spotify, hello, or any streaming service.
Yeah.
And if you're on YouTube, you can see us. Hello.
Hey, YouTubies.
My name is Kalina Converse.
I'm Kaci Carlson.
This is
Medium Mixology.
So this week, Kaci and I found out that we have gone international.
Woo!
Yeah. Woo! So how does that feel?
Good. I mean, kind of a little nerve-wracking, but good. I'm excited.
I mean, our first one, it was super awkward talking to the camera here because it just feels so intimate, like me and you. Let's just...
I know I keep wanting to turn and look at Kalina, and I forget there's a camera here as well.
Yeah. And so like now that we actually have gone international and we have people from New Zealand, from China, from Cyrus.
That's how you Cyrus. Yeah.
Cyrus.
Sorry for saying it wrong.
Yeah. It's by Greece.
Okay.
It's an island.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I looked it up.
Nice. I was like, I'm going to go with that because I don't know. I'm sorry.
Yeah. It's kind of fun that it's not just me and you. There are people out there watching. So welcome. Fun story. This is going to make us look like idiots, but
we're used to that. I mean, it's okay. We're going to keep it real for you all.
So I called Kaci and I said, I have some news. And she was like, what? And I was like, we've gone international.
Yes.
And she was so excited. And then I was like, oh my gosh, they left a comment. And if you're our viewer, you might recognize this comment. He said, hello from New Zealand.
Consider this your sub or
cheers. Here's your sub.
Cheers. Here's your sub. And I was like, what is sub? Like, what does that mean?
So I literally was like, well, people from New Zealand have different slang. Yeah. So like kind of like Hawaii, right?
Yeah.
Like they have almost like their own
He's
lingo.
like, here's your sub. I'm like, here's your homie. Here's your pal.
And I was like, maybe that's like another...
Your mate? I don't know.
Name for like cheers.
Yeah.
Like cheers. And then I was like, oh my gosh, maybe he's like eating a sub sandwich. And my son is hearing me like have this conversation. And he's like... wait, it's a sub, like a subscriber. You have a subscriber. And I was like, oh.
He's just cooler than us, and he abbreviated subscribe. Kalina and I are like subscriber. And he's like, cheers, here's your sub. We're going to try to be cool like you guys in New Zealand.
I just don't even know. Like, we got to get better at this lingo.
We do.
Like, we're
trying.
on YouTube. I think we have to figure this out.
Yeah, we're working it out. So thanks for hanging with us.
Yeah, it's so funny.
Yeah. We're going to do our drink.
Oh, yes,
We've got, so what did we do? I was like, tell them what we made. I'm trying to remember.
It is a tequila sunrise.
Yeah. Love it. So whatever you guys have, grab any drink. Join us in our little cheers, sip and see.
Spirits and mediums.
Wild and free. Cheers. Okay, so we are going to get through the rest of this week with all of you guys.
Yes, we are.
Again, happy hump day. And we're happy to be here. Should we dive right in?
I mean, why not?
Okay. We're doing chills of the week.
Chills of the week.
Chills of the week. I have a couple.
Okay.
Do you have? Okay.
No,
I'm trying to think which one I want to do. Okay. So this was a big one. Okay. I'm laying in bed. I'm watching a show. I'm actually watching, what was that one called? The Witch. It's on Netflix. Oh, yeah, I can't remember what it is, but it's that one that's really popular, right?
Yes, we're going to
Salem. Yeah. So I'm all into all of that. So I'm watching it. My husband's laying in bed next to me, and we're both watching shows on our phones, right? And then I hear, which this goes with our Clairaudience, I hear Kaci. And I know that's someone coming through. And I was like, okay. So I put my phone down and I close my eyes and I check in. And my brother came through first and he showed me some really personal things. And after he left, I opened my eyes and there was a spirit right in front of me. And she was in front of my husband's closet. And I take my phone and I flipped it forward so the light would be on the spirit, and spirit's still there. I flipped it back. So dark to light, right? And it kind of helped me to tune in a little bit faster, if that makes sense. So I stood up and I put my phone down. I started walking towards, and as I started walking towards the spirit, I heard, "Hi, sweet girl." And that was how my grandma everyone was like, "Oh, sweet girl," So I was like, "Oh, grandma." And I got closer to her and I smelled her hairspray. She was a hairstylist like me. And so I could smell her hairspray and I could just feel her love so much. So I am standing there and all of a sudden my husband sees me and I'm like this. Okay, if you guys aren't on YouTube, I'm holding my hands out in front of her, just feeling her love and energy, right? And then my husband's like, "What are you doing?" And I was like,
You're like, "Oh, there's normal humans.
Yeah, I know. I was like, oh, sorry, you don't see her? I was like, Grandma's here.
That's amazing.
Yeah, he's like, what? And I'm like, hey, go get Logan. So Logan's my 12-year-old. Logan has amazing abilities.
Yeah.
Every Claire that boy can check into. And so I was like, hey, go get Logan. It's like 10:30 at night. He's like, Kaci, I'm like, just go get him. And so Logan comes upstairs. He comes bouncing in and he always says like, what's goody, Mom? That's just his name. So he's like, hey, what's goody? And then he's like, whoa, do you see that? And right when he walked in, he saw her. And I said, yeah, what do you see? He's like, well, it's a spirit, but I don't know if I want to stay. So he's working on not running away because, you know, it can be frightful at first when you're a kid. And I'm like, why don't you close your eyes and just feel, what are you feeling? So he closed his eyes and he's like, oh, she keeps saying, Kaci, Kaci, Kaci. And I said, yeah. And he's like, she loves you so much. I said, she does. And he said, oh, it's your grandma. I've seen her before. He's like, okay, now I can see her. Yeah. And he's like, I saw her at our aunt's house. So my aunt lives in that home still. That was my grandma's. And he said, she loves that home. And I said, she did love that home. And he's like, yeah, I've seen her there before. So he never met her. She passed before I even had children.
That's so
it was so sweet. And she just was pouring love into both of us. He said, Mom, can you see what she's wearing? And so I was like, let me tap in a little further. So I closed my eyes and I could see her in a dress. And I said, what do you see? He said, she's wearing a dress. And I said, right, what color? And I said, I'm seeing blue. He said, yeah, blue. And the second he said blue, I saw polka dots. And he said, with polka dots. And I said, yes, that's exactly what I'm seeing.
That's amazing.
Yeah, he described everything that I was seeing. He saw. And then he went on his merry way and Grandma left. So she went with Logan. And the next day he's like, Mom, your grandma followed me into my room and I went to bed and she was just smiling over me while I was sleeping. And I was like, oh, she's your guardian angel, bud. I love that.
That is the most beautiful story I've ever heard.
It was really sweet. It was really special.
Low key, I'm kind of impressed with you, Kaci, because
what?
I mean, before,
I'm all what?
before you would see or feel a spirit and you would run away.
Yeah, because I was like, this is overwhelming.
Did you see it physically?
Yeah.
But you walked toward it.
I know, right? Thank you. Honestly, again, I was proud of myself too. If I'm being honest, I was like, Case, you leaned in.
Like quite physically.
Yes, I did. I was right next to her. And then I thought, oh, I wish my dad could just feel his mom's love right now because she was just right there pouring so much love. And that is what they do. They are here supporting us and they're just pouring love into you all the time. And so we really hope that by following along with us, you're able to tap more into your abilities, that you can start to just feel all of your guides, guardians, they're just pouring love and support into you every day.
It's so fun and so beautiful. And like, they're with you all the time. So like, think about how many times they're with you that you don't even notice.
Yes.
Like I told my daughter, she is very gifted as well. And so she felt something over her shoulder as she was walking in an empty parking lot. And it kind of gave her the like chills. Like she was like, oh, I didn't know what was behind me and it was late and I was in the parking lot by myself and I was on my way to drive home at night.
That's scary.
And I said, well, what did you feel? And she's like, I felt an energy like right behind me.
Whoa.
And I was like, well, do you think perhaps that it was like an angel or one of your guards or guides keeping you safe in that parking lot? And she stopped and thought, and she's like, oh my gosh, I bet that's exactly what it was.
Yeah.
But because it was foreign, it made her walk a little bit faster. And she was like, oh my gosh, something's like on me.
Yeah.
And so how many times do we like immediately go to that like freaky place?
Yes. And you assume it's something dark.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So how like amazing it is that like
I'm trying, girl.
Amazing.
I'm
so impressed.
It was really
so
cool.
proud of you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. You've been helping me with that. It was super cool.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, so my chills of the week. I have a couple this week too, but I'm just going to pick a short and sweet one that kind of piggybacks off a story that I told a couple weeks ago. And that was when I was laying in my bathtub.
Always in the
Boobs
bathtub. Always.
And the lock, do you remember the lock like flew open, the door slid open?
Yes.
Okay,
how could I forget?
There was, So there is a part to this story that I missed. And that is my kids have learned that if they take the door and they shake it and they rattle it, it will eventually pop the lock open, slide
Freaking
open.
Kids, man.
And so that's why I was like, okay, is it a kid at first? And then I was like, no. And then it happened again and it slid open. And I was like, there's no way that was a kid because there's no shaking and rattling the first time. So fast forward to this week. I'm laying in my bathtub. This time, my husband is laying in bed. And as he's laying in bed and I'm in the bathtub, there's that barn door that is locked and it's separating us.
Yeah.
And it pops open and slides open. And I hear him from the bedroom go, that was not a child.
He's like, just FYI, it's not a kid. It's not me.
Well, it's funny because when I told him the story at first, he was like, I'm sure that it was a kid playing a joke on you. It's not.
You're like, yeah, right. You're trying to sneak in and get a little look-see. Like, please, we know what you're doing, babe.
Yeah. And so at first he was a naysayer, and he was like, I'm sure a kid, like, who you don't know who was on the other side of that door, like opening it. Mm-hmm. But this time he was laying in bed, and when it flung open and opened, he literally was like, oh, that was not a kid. That was not a kid, just so you know. And I got out, and I like walked out butt naked. I walked out, and I'm looking at him, and I'm like, wait, what? And he's like, that was not a kid. I was just laying here. That was not a kid. There was no kid here. It just opened.
I feel like it was almost him being like, "Kate, come protect me." Yeah. You know, it's like roles reversed.
Because at first,
he's like, "This is your realm."
He's like, not again.
None of my detective abilities are going to help with this. This is you.
This is the type of situation where I'm like, he has seen and witnessed so much shit that there is no possible way he can deny it at this point, because like there is nobody on the other side. It wasn't me. He
saw it himself,
and he was like, "Wait, what? Not a kid. Not a kid."
I love that's the first thing he says.
That was not a kid.
He's like, hurry up and get out of the bathtub and do your stuff.
Okay, so, and I totally forgot about this, but I'm in my bathroom doing my daughter's hair, and there's like, everywhere I go, my kids follow me.
Of course. Yeah. Yes, they do.
So
they're always at our feet.
Yes.
The kids or the dogs.
Literally.
Both.
So I'm in the bathroom doing my daughter's hair, and there's like a gaggle of children in there. Half of them are in there. Half of them are in the other room. And the TV in my bedroom turns on.
Oh, here we go.
And we all, like, we can hear it playing, and we all kind of look at each other like, wait, what? And so we walk out, and there's nobody in my bedroom. The remote is sitting on the bed, and all the kids are, like, in the other room. So I walk into the other room, I'm like, who turned on my TV? And they're like, what?
What was playing? Do you remember?
I should have looked.
I'm always so curious. I'm like, but wait, what was it? Or like, what song came on the radio suddenly?
Yes.
You know, what TV show came on or something?
I think we were all like, the kids jumped up and they were like, wait, what?
You're like, who is it?
Yeah. And they're like, not. Yeah. They're so funny because they just know at this point. It's so active all the time that they're just like, what? Every day.
But I love that they're not running away. My second oldest, if she hears anything, she'll yell for me and she'll yell for Logan. The two people that are always like talking and singing. Yeah. She's like, what is it? What is it? Like, it's okay. But it can be very startling. You know, like even you're a grown man, your husband is like, that wasn't a kid. Like, help.
And then actually, I just remembered this. So I sent Kaci, this was 3 nights ago.
Oh, yeah. The light.
Yeah.
Yeah, tell them about that.
I was laying in my bathtub, and I sent Kaci a video.
You need to write a book, My Bathtub. People are gonna think it's going another direction.
Complete with pictures.
Yeah, totally.
Soft porn over here. Oh my God. No, so I'm laying in my bathtub, and I sent Kaci a video. And what's the video of Kaci?
Oh my word. Yeah, she sends me this video, and I'm like, oh, what's this? I turn it on, and this light, it just starts turning on and off. And on and on. It was very controlled. It wasn't even like a twitching, like an electrical type of, you know where it kind of like flickers? It wasn't that. It was on and off.
It stopped. I asked it. I was like, okay, can you come back another time? Come back
You're like,
day.
I am not in the mood for your crap today. Just like it's your child. Stop touching my lights. I'm trying to take a bath.
Yeah, pretty much. So I was like, no. And then Brindley comes in because my kids don't have any personal space.
No, never.
And,
mine neither. Mine is the same way.
Yeah. And she's like, hey, Mom, what's up? I just got home. This was the same night a spirit was following her home. So she wanted to like tell me.
Yeah.
And so I'm laying there and I'm like, well, my light's been flickering. And she's like, no light is flickering. I'm like, it's that one over there. And she turns around and looks at it and she's like, nothing's happening. And then I said, watch, it'll flicker. If there's a spirit here, will you flicker the light? It starts flickering. She turns back around.
She's like, what in the world? Will you just flicker so she'll believe me?
Yeah.
Just
if there's
flick that
here,
light
flicker
on.
my light, please. It flickers.
It's like 2 in one night.
Stop flickering the light now.
You can stop now. It's like that clap on, clap off. You remember back in the day, this is really going to age me. But I mean, hello, I have 5 kids, a 19-year-old. You already know my age. But you're like, clap on, clap off. Your spirits can do it for you. You're like, watch my party trick.
It's so funny. And then it stopped flickering and it's wild.
It is. You had 2 in one night. I love that. Your daughter did and then you did.
I know.
You're like, well, they followed you home and then they decided to bother me.
Yes. It's amazing. Okay, so What are we talking about this week?
So we are talking about clairaudience, and clairaudience is the ability to receive information through auditory, through hearing, but it's not just your typical sounds and ways of receiving information through your hearing. It's more tapping into the spiritual realm.
Yeah.
So it'll sound a little different. I mean, sometimes a lot different, I guess I should say.
So I love clairaudience. I feel like clairaudience doesn't get enough attention. So
I agree. This is a big one for me too.
It's huge.
Yeah.
Clairaudience to me is, well, that's the throat chakra.
Mm-hmm.
And being able to receive sounds or even just like
Almost like a music note or just one sound. It doesn't have to be a whole long drawn out sentence or a whole
when
entire
I see
song.
you, I hear a plane.
Oh, yeah. My grandpa.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So
yeah, certain people, they do have a sound. That is interesting. That's true.
yep.
Yeah, they definitely do.
Yeah. So clairaudience is your ability to hear sounds. And when we did the example of the movie theater, we talked about how if you really like the soundtrack of the movie and you're really drawn to like just the way it makes you feel and all of the sounds and everything like that, then that it might indicate that you are more clairaudient.
Yeah. Yeah. In some other ways, maybe you're like an auditory learner. That's
that's great.
Yeah, an indication of that. Or you might hear your name, like how I heard Kaci. That's how I know someone's
what's
coming
so
in.
crazy about that?
What?
Do you remember on your graduation weekend, we were up in Sedona?
Yes.
I said to you all the time, I was trying to sleep.
She's like, she kept hearing Kaci.
And the fact that you said that is crazy because when we were together, that's all I heard was Kaci.
I'm so sorry.
It's just funny that you also hear it.
I do.
You receive it like that because that's exactly how I heard it.
Yeah,
like
that is funny.
A year ago, however long ago.
Yeah, because that was like a year ago. So you hear it the same way. Yeah.
I know.
It is interesting. Or another one, if you hear like a high pitch or like a ringing, it's different than, is it tinnitus? I'm not saying don't go see a medical doctor if you keep hearing ringing. Okay, let me have that disclaimer.
So but
it's
me,
different.
Yeah, for me, a ringing in the ear, yes, that can indicate spirit is near. They say if there's a ringing in your left ear, that means spirit is in your
the left
vicinity.
ear.
For me, it's not. It's not. Sometimes I'll get a ringing, but I get pressurized a lot. So like if the pressure in my ear changes, it's almost like I can be talking. It happens probably 50 times a day. It's the weirdest thing ever.
Do you get it more in your left or your right? Because now that you say that, I feel like the other day I was definitely channeling. It wasn't me. It was for a friend. And it was one of their relatives coming through. And I had pressure in my right ear and ringing in my left.
It can be both.
Yeah, because I was like, oh, I'm getting ringing. This kind of gives me confirmation that
Most of the time it's the left, but sometimes it's the right.
Okay.
And it really is like a pressurized, like, and it's quick. It's like I'm here and then it's almost like somebody's trying to talk to you. Best way I can describe it is if I'm having a conversation with you and it happens right now, it almost feels like I'm just going to age us too. But do you remember like landlines?
Yes.
Or maybe it was like old school phones when the calls would get crossed somehow and you would pick up another signal and you'd hear somebody else's voice for a second and then it would stop.
Yes.
Do you know what I'm talking about?
That is a good example.
Where you can't like quite make out what they're saying, but you're like, wait, do you hear that?
Yeah,
I think somebody else is on the line.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yep.
That is
I
exactly
remember
like I'll be talking to you and I'll be like, wait.
Yes. Yeah. I know exactly what you're talking about. Yeah.
And it really depends on how in tune you are. Because right now we're just chilling, right? We're hanging out, we're drinking. So if I were to hear it, I'm not focusing on that. So it sounds like a telephone call with a bad signal, like coming in and out.
Yeah.
But if I were to be like, oh, somebody's trying to communicate, let me stop, let me pause, or let me get in a meditation space and then it comes in, then it's a lot more clearer signal and I can actually hear exactly what they're saying.
Yes. Yeah. And I feel like sometimes they'll even give just like a tiny sound like what you're saying or whisper someone's name. And then that's when I'm like, oh, I got to tap in. And that's when I like set my stuff down, close my eyes and check in. And
the name one is huge. If you've ever thought you heard your name called and you turn around, nobody's there. That is probably the other side trying to talk with you.
Yep. Yeah, for sure. Another one is if like music is like speaks to your soul, like on a deep level, you really connect with music. Even if, so I went through a period of time where I didn't cry and it was a couple of years and I wanted to cry and I couldn't. I just had some trauma I was working through and I'd shove stuff deep down. And I would put on music so I'm a musician, piano teacher. I've played the piano since I was little. And so music really speaks to me. And I put on a song that typically would make me cry, make me sad, and I still couldn't cry. But normally I'll put on a certain type of music to kind of help me release or tap into something. It could be like if I'm feeling good or joyful, I'll put on my happy song. And if I'm sad, I have a specific sad song. You know what I mean? Where you kind of need that release. But music has always spoken to me on a deep level.
Yeah, I think people who do play more music or even just need it in the background as background noise might be more in tune to clairaudience.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. Yeah, for sure. Oh, another one, if you talk to yourself. I always talk to myself because it's almost like you're also channeling and it's so much information. You just need to speak it out loud. I got to speak it aloud.
Yeah, that's really good one. Mm-hmm. I also feel like if you are going about your day and all of a sudden a song pops in your head and it's like on repeat, what are the words to that song? What is it trying to tell you, or who is that song associated with?
Okay, I have the best story for what you're talking about. It happened just last week. So what's really cool is another connection Kalina and I have is she shares the exact same birthday, birth year, everything with my younger brother. So it was my brother that passed. So
I did not know
everything.
That.
So when we celebrated her 40th, I was like, he had been 40. We're just a couple years apart. And on his birthday, I just was really missing him extra, And so I was like, hey, bud, are you around? Like, I haven't been feeling you that much lately. And so this was, about a week or two ago. And I'm sitting in the car and I pulled in my driveway. So I'll just talk aloud, and I was like, just give me some kind of sign or something. And then I'm like, and then I started to have a feeling, you're with me, but another family member needs you more right now. So are you with another family member? And right after that, I heard, oh, Mandy, well, you came and you took without taking. And that's my sister. Her name's Mandy. Aww. And my mom and dad said that's kind of how they named her back in the day. That was a popular song when she was born. Yeah. And I was like, oh, you're with Mandy. I don't listen to that song. I haven't heard that song in forever. And immediately it was like, oh, Mandy. And it kept playing over and over. And I was like, oh, got it. Okay. So like he was there with me and that's the clairaudience. I heard it. And so that line. And so I called my sister. I'm like, hey, have you been feeling BJ a lot lately? She's like, yes. I woke up and it was like, why am I feeling so sad and missing him extra emotional? And I told her what happened and she's like, okay, that makes perfect sense. Because some years are different. Some years you don't always feel them or think about them as much, years as time has gone on. And then other years you're like, man, my heart just is like this deep hole, like really aching to just see you again, even though time has passed. And so it kind of fluctuates. But she's like, yeah, this year especially for some reason, I'm really missing him. I'm like, well, he sang your song.
I do feel like once their work here is complete, they transition into new work. My aunt, after she passed, and this is another clairaudient thing. So I was driving in my car when I found out my aunt passed, and I was in my own head. I wasn't thinking about it or anything. And I instantly heard her next to me after that. Like, it's like I got the information and then I was about ready to like lose it. And she was sitting in the car next to me and she was like,
oh, I got the chills.
She used to call me Lena K. And she's like, hey, Lena K, I'm right here. And the clairaudient part of it is very much like they come through. This is one of my favorite parts about doing readings on people. When I hear them, it's with the cadence of their voice. It's like with the same personality, the same. Does that make sense?
It does. Like when I heard "Hi, Sweet Girl," I knew immediately. It's that same energy, same vibration. Yes, and tone.
You forget. Like when somebody passes, it's almost like you forget the way they spoke.
It's more like the musicality of their voice.
Yes, it's like their tone, their personality in their voice. So when I'm reading somebody, or if somebody's in yoga teacher training, and I am hearing like boots walking or something, and I'm like, oh, I think somebody's dad is here or something. I will tap in and I'll be like, is somebody here? And I'll hear like, yeah, I'm here. Like, it's almost like you hear like, and I'm like, okay, whose dad here is a hillbilly, right? Like,
he was like a rancher. He wore boots. It helps you tap in so quick to their personality.
Yes, and it's so fun.
Yes, it is fun
because you hear. But it's like you hear it and then you feel it.
Yep. That happened just the other day, a couple of weeks ago too, with a friend, and her grandma was coming through, and I was like, "Oh, your grandma was a good time, huh? Like she was fun, just from hearing her talk."
Yes.
And she's like, "Yeah, she was."
Especially like women. I call them zhuzhi. Like they're just
like they
like a
got
little
that
like
little sass.
Yeah, spice. Like spicy grandmas are like real fun to hear because like they have like fire in their voice.
Yep.
Like in their. It's
I know what you're
so
talking
interesting.
about. Yeah, it is. I love that. So what are some ways that people could work on tapping in more to that clairaudience?
Well, I think, like you said, people who listen to music, anytime I'm tapping into any psychic or medium skill, I say, look at the world around you. Because when you do physical things, that helps you energetically and emotionally. So listen to all sorts of music, not just the music you normally listen to. Like open yourself up. We each have a reference library, is what I like to call it.
Yeah.
So if in your reference library, you associate country music with a hillbilly, then somebody might come through and play a country song and you're like, oh, was your dad from the country?
Yeah.
But if you don't know what techno music sounds like, there's nothing in your reference library to pull and draw from.
That you can associate it with.
Yeah. So any sounds are good. Any music, like just opening yourself. It's almost like, I don't know if this is a dumb example, but it's almost like in dance. Like if you're a dancer, and you're a ballerina, you don't just take ballet, you take jazz, you take hip hop, like you take all the dance to make you better at ballet.
Exactly.
It's the same thing. Like you need to listen to all types of music to give you a bigger reference library. So when you are connecting or hearing or seeing whatever it is, your reference library is so much bigger to draw from.
Yeah, that's a great explanation. I totally agree with that. And I'm really drawn if I'm same thing, kind of like what you're talking about. If I'm like struggling in that moment or I'm having a hard time tapping in or I'm off, whatever, I'll pull up like the binaural beats, high frequency, and just kind of tap into a different frequency. And I can literally feel it change my body, like how I'm feeling.
Energetic.
My energetic body shifts. I can feel that change. So that's a fun one to try out too. I feel like not a lot of people know about that, but you can type in just high frequency or binaural beats and it'll have all these different tones. And
that is so good. It is the throat chakra. So if we're working on the throat chakra, it is located at the base of your throat. The color is blue. It is your ability to communicate, and not just communicate, but communicate your truth. So it's a lot about speaking your truth. So a lot of people talk, but what are they saying? It is all about, you're not just talking just to talk. You're talking to say your truth. And also, we have 2 ears and 1 mouth because we're supposed to listen twice as much as we speak. And in our society, I feel like we listen to talk. Does that make sense?
Yeah. No, I was about to say amen to that, girl. Yes, because too many people are just wanting to talk about themselves and talk. And you're not taking a moment to listen to other people or listen to the other realm, listen to spirit.
Yeah. So if you're not taking time to pause and have silence at all, like you might not pick up stuff. Yeah. I am clairaudient, but I love silence. I drive in my car in silence because I feel like I can hear my thoughts, so I can hear the thoughts of spirit better. But for you love music. And so you feel like tapping into that music gives you a feel and a sense of that. Yeah. So neither is wrong nor right. It's just 2 different ways up the mountain, both of them to the same place.
Yeah. So like play around with it and see what you notice, whether you're listening to music or it's silent, and see what comes through.
Yeah. Eating blue foods.
Yeah.
Color bathing in blue gemstones.
Yeah. I was going to say one I love for the throat chakra is soda light.
Yeah.
So my son, both of my sons, my 2 oldest boys, they had speech apraxia. And so I had done research on it because I've always been into the woo woo stuff. So I'm like, okay, what else can I do? They're in speech therapy. I'm doing everything I can with that. I'm learning sign language. So we're doing signs, and they were little. I started them at 18 months old, but by 3 years old, I was diving more into what else can I do besides the standard. And so I came across soda light and talking about how people were actually using that and wearing it right at their throat as a necklace, to help with speech issues, any speech delays, and opening up that throat chakra. Yeah. And so I did. I bought my sons this big soda light, and my husband's like, "You're making them wear a rock to help with their speech apraxia." Yep. I swear it helped though.
That's amazing.
Yeah. And they loved it. My one son especially.
That's so cute.
Yeah. He gravitated right and he loved it. And now I stole it from him. I still have it.
Do your kids gravitate toward gemstones, rocks?
Yeah. Some more than others. They love it. And even my piano students, I bought this huge amethyst rock. And so I have like this little music box I do when they pass off and they get Beethoven bucks. Oh, right here. If you guys are looking on YouTube, we got a little amethyst, this beautiful heart amethyst rock. And so I bought this one. I have one student, I have all these crystals sitting next to the amethyst rock. And he's like, how many Beethoven bucks do I need to earn to get that big rock? And I'm like, let's go for the smaller rocks next to it. So he'll like choose that for his prize.
That's
it is
so cute that you did that.
It's fun when kids, like, I feel like kids especially, don't you? They collect rocks. You know, when you're little,
kids, I collect rocks.
Oh, right? No, totally.
My mom does too.
Does she? Oh, I love that.
My
you kind of gravitate to it.
So here's a funny story. Speaking of rocks, it was a full moon. And if you're in the woo, you know that like a full moon does what?
It opens everything up. It charges your crystals.
Yeah.
I was like, which way are we going with the full moon? It makes everyone a little crazy.
Yeah.
But it does charge your crystals.
Yeah, it charges your crystals.
Yeah.
And so I was gathering all of my crystals in my house to put them on my balcony for the full moon.
I'm like, as you should.
Yes. My son, who's 12 now, but he was probably 10 at the time. It was a couple of years ago. He came in and he goes, what are you doing? And I said, I'm moving all my crystals out to charge them in the moonlight. And he goes, okay. He goes, like a phone charger? And I said, exactly.
Oh, yeah, I like that.
Yeah, like a phone charger. Like phone needs to be charged. And he goes, and you believe that?
Oh, he's like, hey, stupid. Do you actually believe that crap?
And I said, yes. And he goes, does Dad believe that? And I said, no. And he goes, okay.
You're all, so do you believe it?
I
do you believe mom or dad?
I could tell by his face.
Yeah. He gave you his answer.
I was like, wait a minute.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah.
But I love, they kind of put up with our crazy stuff.
Yeah,
I've done
do.
same things where I'm gathering like a crazy person, gathering all my stones like they're my babies. And I'm like, Adam, can you help set up a table so I can put like a fold out table so I can put my stones on? He's like, you know what? Can we just like push pause on this for just a minute? I'm like, no, it's a full moon and I'm going to miss it.
You're like, I can't pause
like,
full moon.
Yeah. I'm like, he's like, oh, for the love.
Oh my gosh, our poor husbands.
I know.
They need to meet someday.
They do. Oh, they would have a lot to talk about.
Oh,
They're like, does she do this and does she do that?
Yeah. Well, so sodalite is a great one. Lapis lazuli is beautiful.
Yeah.
Kyanite, any blue crystal or stone will help you. You can carry it in your pocket. You can sleep with it under your pillow or just have it near you. What else? You can chant, hum, sing. All of those open the throat chakra.
Those are good ones.
And by opening the throat chakra, in turn, you will kind of open that clairaudient signal that you are. It's almost like a muscle, right? So by working your throat chakra, you are clearing any stagnant energy there and opening to what you may be able to receive.
Yeah. I love that.
So do we want to talk about telepathy?
Oh, telepathy. Oh, yeah. Let's do it.
Telepathy can be something that is not just clairaudient. It is part of it, maybe, if you receive sounds and that's how you receive your telepathy. For me, it is. But you can also kind of tap into telepathy by clairvoyance or a different way, by a knowingness or seeing it. But for today's podcast, since we're talking about clairaudience, we'll tap into that.
Yeah.
So my daughter, we were driving in the car and we were driving back from up north and it was like a 2.5 hour drive. And I was with my two teens, Brinley and Kaya. And we are almost down into Phoenix. And my daughter was like, I'm so hungry. And I'm like, what do you guys want to eat? And Kaya is like, I don't know, maybe we should just go through McDonald's. And I was like, yeah. And I heard Brinley go, no, I don't want McDonald's. I want Cane's. And so she opens her mouth and goes, Cane's. And I literally looked at her and I was like,
I totally heard that.
I knew you were going to say that. Like I heard it.
That's amazing. And
Like-
did she freak out a bit?
No, not that time because they're used to it by now. But the
Okay,
first time
but
this
the
ever
first
happened,
time.
I was sitting in my meditation room, which is my living room downstairs. And Kaya comes down and I'm always sitting there meditating in the morning. Like I have coffee and I like close my eyes and I sit on my couch and I just ground.
Yeah.
And I try and like check out of the outside world, right? Like just focus on the internal world and release any thoughts or emotions or energy that is stagnant, that no longer serves me. Just kind of try and find a peaceful state in me. and then I work on my skills or try and grow my skills, I guess, or tap into whatever wants to come and talk to me that day. So Kaya comes downstairs. She's my 14-year-old. Anytime she sees me in that position, she kind of walks toward me cautiously. I think she's like afraid that I'm going to like jump up and be like, I should try that sometime.
You should just mess with her.
Yeah, I totally should. So she'll like grab her toe. She'll walk up to me. She'll like grab her toe and she'll kind of like poke me with her toe to like,
hey, I'm here.
Yes. To be like,
yeah,
weirdo.
Where are you at?
Yeah.
Are you here in this?
Yeah. Like it freaks her out. So she was doing that and I was like, oh, hey, I'm just working on some skills. And I said, actually, I have a game I want to play with you. And she was like, what? And so she sat down across from me and I said, I want you to think of a number 1 through 20, much like we did.
Yeah.
And she said, okay. And I said, okay, just give me a second. I'm going to tap in, think it in your head. Don't say anything. And I close my eyes and I hear quite literally her voice say 14. Wait, no, that's my age. She'll guess that. Okay, 16. Wait, no, that's Brinley's age. She's going to guess that next. Okay, 15. She won't guess that. And she goes, okay, I'm ready. And I go, okay, 14. Wait, no, that's your age. I'm going to guess that. 16. Wait, no, that's Brinley's age. I'm going to guess that. 15. Your number is 15. Her draw dropped open and she was like,
what?
That was so freaky. She's like,
I can never lie to you.
No, she stood up and she was like, never do that again. That is so creepy.
It can be kind of invasive. My kids have said that too. Don't try to read what I'm thinking. Don't do it because it feels like I'm invading their space.
Yeah, it is like a form of privacy, right? Like having boundaries and being like, okay, I hear things, but if they're not saying it, then
oh my word, right now I'm getting a ring in my left ear. But you know what? It's not intentional every time. Truly, it could be something lighthearted. Like I've even done this with my clients, not trying to, but I'm doing their hair and I feel like because I am close and I'm at the crown, I'm touching their head. And so my one friend, she knows some of my abilities and it was quiet for a while. We're talking, then it's quiet. And then I could hear her say, oh, I'm so excited for this new hair color. And I was like, should I say anything? And I was like, so are you excited about your hair color? She's like, you just read my thoughts. Because we were not talking about hair.
For some reason, it's like in the car for me because I think it's a confined space. Whenever I'm in the car with somebody, I can instantly pick up on what they're saying in their head. It's so crazy. One of my friends, I was driving with her in the car somewhere and she was going to a baseball game or something. And she had extra tickets. I think I've said something like this on the podcast, but she had extra tickets and she's like, I'm going to ask her, but I have 4 and I need to double check with my husband. And I was like, yeah, you should double check with your husband. I would love to go. And she was like,
did I say that out loud?
Oh my gosh, I have the best story ever. Yes. Okay. So I was I'm in a homeschool co-op.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Of course. I love it.
It's very like Christian based. So like I try and like confine my like energetic self a little bit because not everybody's open to the woo, right?
Uh-huh.
And we're sitting in a circle and I was in charge of the teens. The teens are in a circle and I said, okay, Secret Santa is coming up. It was a big party at my house and there's probably 30 teens. And I said, I want you guys to throw out some ideas, which would be great for a Secret Santa party. And so you guys have some ideas of what you want other people to bring so you can take home. And they were like, okay. So somebody was like a Starbucks gift card and somebody was like slippers and somebody was like, I want a boba gift card. And then somebody else said, I just want a Pizza Hut gift card or something like that.
Yeah.
And I said, oh my gosh, a pizza gift card would be great. And Brinley and Kaya, who are both in it, Brinley's hand literally smacked her forehead. She looked down. And I saw her do it. And in that instant, I realized my eyes got big. The guy didn't say it out loud.
Oh no. They're like, Mom, what did you just do?
And Brinley and Kai knew what happened. The dude knew what happened because he didn't say it out loud, but everybody else was like, nobody said anything about pizza.
That's incredible.
And I was like, oh shit.
You're like, hey, I have an idea. Do you guys like pizza?
I'm like, yeah, pizza gift card would be great. And then I realized, like, it's almost like
so
sometimes
amazing.
it sounds like it's out loud, but
Yes.
it's not.
Yes, I know exactly. And I do this a ton with my daughter. Like just recently, and it's interesting you said in the car. It's true. It happens a lot in the car. We'll be driving home from school and she is not a talker like me. In fact, we're very opposite. She's very quiet. She's a lot more like my husband. And so she likes to be in silence. And I'm like, okay, we're just going to, in fact, it overwhelms her, but I think she is definitely an HSP, like a highly sensitive person. She is very Claire empathy. She feels everyone's everything. So she needs quiet after school. So we're driving and it was silent. And I heard her say, oh, the fall stuff is out for Trader Joe's. Like Mom and I should go. It's like our tradition. We go every fall, and it's quiet. And I was like, I'm just going to say it. I was like, do you know that the fall stuff is out at Trader Joe's? Like, she's like, what? She is so
all the time.
She's like, I was just thinking that, Mom.
All the time. It happens like every single day. And it's so sometimes I know, like sometimes I'm like, oh, I know that's hers. And sometimes I'll say it and I'll be like, shit, that was totally somebody else.
No.
Like it's almost like I respond just like if you were to talk to me and then I'd say it back and I'd be like, fuck, I didn't I did not wait for them to say that out loud. Like, damn it.
Yeah. You're like, I'm not trying to invade your thoughts. Okay.
I know it is so invasive.
Yeah, it is though. But I mean, it's kind of cool.
My son loves it because I'll be downstairs and it'll be getting close to lunchtime and I'll hear him in my head go, I'm so hungry, I'm ready for food. And I'll just make him something and take it upstairs and he'll be like, oh, this is so great.
Of course you knew, Mom.
Yeah, we just talked about this yesterday. He was like, I love that every time I'm hungry, I can just think about it and you just know. Like you hear it.
Amazing.
So when I'm hungry, I'm just like, Mom, I'm hungry in my head. And then you bring me food.
Yeah. I love that. You just reminded me of something. I actually had an English teacher. So any of my friends that are listening, they're going to know exactly who I'm talking about. And so this English teacher, she was very into the woo. Like she's very naturally minded, open for all the things, energy work, all of it. And she taught us in English class, but it was a very small charter school. So she got away with this crap. But she said, your thoughts are very powerful. Your mind is very powerful. And she said, my daughter and I have the ability to communicate with our thoughts. And at the time, I'm like 13. It was like junior high. I'm like, okay, yeah, I mean, sure, maybe. And she said, so I could say her name over and over and over. And I'm just saying it in my head and she will respond aloud, and she's like, what, Mom? As if you'd like been yelling at her, right? So my friend, he's sitting behind me. If you're listening, you know who I'm talking about. He is sitting behind me and he was saying my name over and over. And I'm like, why do I feel like he's like yelling at me, but like no one else can hear it. Like I kind of knew what was going on and I didn't know he's literally leaning in, staring at me. And he's going, Kaci in his head. Right. And finally I turned around. I'm like, what do you want? Damn it. And he's all, it worked. She was like freaking out. And our teacher saw, she's like, okay, you were practicing. That was wild. But it was like, he was yelling and I'm like, oh my word, for the love. What do you want? He freaked out. So yeah, even back then, I didn't even think of that connection till you were saying that just now.
So cool.
It's fun. You guys play around with it. It's fun. You could even try something like that. A family member, say their name in your head and send your attention to them. Yeah.
See if they call, or if you feel like you're hearing somebody's name a lot, like, or if it comes in, you're like, oh, I should call my grandma. And then you think about it again later. And you're like, oh, grandma. One of my stories was one of my teachers, a yoga teacher, and I can't say her name because I want to protect her privacy, but I did ask her if I could tell this story.
Okay, good.
She works with me, but back in the day, I was a new teacher and she was really experienced. I didn't know her very well. And I kept hearing the name. I'm going to call her Jennifer J.
Okay.
And I kept hearing Jennifer J, Jennifer J, Jennifer J. And I heard it over and over. I was actually painting the wall at my house in my classroom. I have a classroom for my kids. Mm-hmm. And I was painting the wall and I kept hearing Jennifer J, Jennifer J, Jennifer J. And I was like, what? Like, I don't know her that well. And all of a sudden I heard, she needs to call her dad. She needs to call her dad. She needs to call her dad. And I was like, okay, I can't give that message. That is weird. I don't know this girl that well. Like, no. And I tried to suppress it, but it's almost like it gets louder. Like it's on repeat. It's like a song
they would have bugged you all day.
Yeah, it's like a song on repeat that won't go away. And it just gets louder and louder and more obnoxious and more obnoxious. Yeah. And so finally, I kind of got to a point where I was like, just go away. And so I called a friend that knew us both and who was really good friends with Jennifer. And I said, hey, I have a message for Jennifer and I don't know her that well. Is she going to be open to receive this? And she was like, I think she'll be okay. Like, I'm not sure, but you can try.
Like, that gave me a lot of faith.
I didn't even have her phone number. Like, that's how not close I was to her. And so she gave me her phone number, and I text her because I was like, hey, I know this.
This might sound weird, but
remember me? I have this funny message for you if you're open to receive it, because I learned boundaries by then.
Yeah.
And she said, yeah, sure. What's up? And I said, I keep hearing your name repeat, and I really think you need to call your dad. Well, at this point, I didn't know anything about her. I didn't even know if her dad was here. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or if her dad had passed and knew nothing. And she called me back and she said, you know, it's really interesting you would say that, because today is my dad's birthday. And it is the first birthday that he has had since my mom passed. And I am at work. And so I keep saying to myself, I'm going to call him. And I've been really busy. I haven't had a chance. And he lives on the East Coast and it's getting late. And I really need to call him. But I'm just so busy that I haven't gotten to it.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, I think your mom is talking to me and telling me that you need to call your dad.
You're like, she's persistent.
Yeah. And I didn't it was pretty new in my journey. So I didn't get all of those details, right? I didn't know it was her dad's birthday. I didn't know it was her mom talking to me. I was still like just honing my skills, but I heard her name over Jennifer J.
Yeah.
And I was like,
you
call your
nailed
dad,
it,
call your
though.
dad. And I'm like, this is fucking weird.
But I love that you kind of took that leap. You're like, well, I mean, they're very persistent. I feel like I need to. So I'm just going to throw it out there, because that can be really a vulnerable feeling, can be like nerve wracking. I know exactly
really
what you're talking about. I'm like, they're going to think I'm nuts, or maybe they're not open to hear it. I don't know.
Yeah.
So, but I love that you did it. You listened.
Yeah. And that's really what it is are you open to listening? Because when you're working clairaudience, it's not just about delivering messages from the other side or tapping into a skill to know what your other people are thinking, but it's also about like, what are you willing to open yourself up to and listen to? And then are you willing to do something with that? Because not to quote Spider-Man, but
we love quoting Spider-Man.
With great power comes great responsibility. And so like, it really is like, once it gets kind of loud, like once you hear it, you can't, you have to choose. It's a choice.
Yep.
So
I guess it helps, and it can help comfort and bless other people. So even though you might be scared, if you have an experience like what we've been talking about, maybe just trust yourself, trust your abilities, and throw it out there and see what happens. And, you know, maybe you're right, maybe you're wrong, but I kind of think just taking that first step and putting yourself out there almost opens you up to tap in more.
Yeah.
So,
like, how many times do you not say something that could actually be something? And the only way to find out is if you open your mouth and say something.
Yeah.
So it's faith and trust. Like, you have to have faith that you are receiving information and trust that it is meant to be delivered. And if you don't have those two things, then it's really hard to do any sort of healing work in this field, because you have to trust your skills.
Yeah, for sure.
All right. Are you ready to do Ask the Psychics?
Yeah, let's do it.
This one is from Lucy. And Lucy sent in several questions, so I'm just going to pick one. My mom, she's from the UK.
Yes.
We know Lucy.
Yeah, she's cute.
We're going to have her on the podcast sometime because she's got some great stories.
I'm excited for that.
Yeah. My mom will often say her ears are burning, and she'll ask the nearest person to her to give her a number. So if your ear was just burning, you'd be like, Kalina, give me a number. She then will count the alphabet to a letter. Then the letter represents a person, and she then contacts that person as they are the ones talking about her.
Wow, I've never heard of that.
I didn't either, and I love that.
That's cool.
Yeah, so I loved it. I loved it because, and I wonder if other people in the UK do this, because I've never heard of it
No,
either.
I haven't. I want to try it now.
Yeah, so every time you hear a ring, you ask the closest person, tell me a number. And then if the number is 5, that would be A, B, C, D, E. Do you know anybody with the name E?
Yeah.
Okay, so then you'd call that person and be like, hey, did you need me, or were you talking about me? Like, what's going on?
Yeah. Oh, I'm going to try that. Let's try that this week and see.
Okay,
We'll report back.
That's fun.
You guys try it with us. If that happens for you, try it out and email us. Let us know your stories or any questions like what Lucy had, or just any thoughts, feelings, anything,
Yeah.
Email us and we would love to read your stories and questions.
Perfect. All right. I think that's it, Kaci.
Yeah.
This one.
This was a good one.
Clairaudience.
Yes. Thanks, guys. So cheers. We hope you have a happy Wednesday.
Happy
Hump
hump
day.
day.
Yeah.
My name is Kalina Converse.
And I'm Kaci Carlson.
And this is
Medium Mixology. Cheers.
Cheers.